Yoo-hoo, what's up, guys? Balance patch time. So, long awaited one. We had SWC, we had the Siege tournament, and after that is mainly the time to do a big balance patch, right? So, everyone is expecting something big. However, well, I'm not the first one to make a video on this because actually, the moment this was released, I was having dinner with a bunch of the Korean guys here in Korea, so that was pretty cool as well. Met up with a whole bunch of them, was definitely nice to see them. But we're talking about the balance patch with them, and I also talk with about the balance patch with some of the other people on like Discord and that kind of stuff, and it feels somewhat lackluster, right? So yeah, let's see what we have over here and let's review what is there. So first of all, Archangels. Archangels 9% on the damage. I would say for like if we look at it for like Eladriel, Ariel, no one gives a shit, right? If we look at it for Fermion and Artemil, mainly Artemil. Artemil might not be that bad. Like I always said, Artemil is somewhat underrated as like a Leo counter, and I think that might be pretty strong for it in general. Fermion, however, I think it's maybe okay-ish. Valajul, I don't think it's used enough to be anything interesting for Valajul, though. They do have the armor break setup from an S2 into an S1. With a little bit more damage might help a little bit, but I don't think it's that great. Maybe just for Artemil. I think Artemil and Fermion might be a little bit better on that. So then we have the Chow. Damage according to your current HP is increased with 25%. So that does mean you can focus more on crit damage, more on HP, and you will dish out more damage. Is it gonna make Chow a lot stronger? Well, I'm not really sure, but at least for the build, you can work more specifically towards that rather than focus on a little bit attack. But it might be okay-ish for that. It might be decent where he becomes somewhat into certain matches where he becomes like a good play. But often the issue is like he cleanses one debuff or two debuffs. I don't even know what he exactly does. But you can still stack like six debuffs on it, push his attack bar back, and then he's not gonna do anything. Then we have Jaeger, which scribble bibble. Are you gonna like this one? I don't think so. When countering with King's Rage, you go under threat state while the enemy attacks a single target. Wait. While you go in threat states, while the enemy attacks with a single target skill one time. So wait, does that mean you get threat state if you get single target attacked when counter-attacking? So you counter-attack on a single target attack and then you get a threat state, which gives you another chance to pretty much do the same thing repetitive over and over, because threat state is only removed when you actually do a single target hit. It doesn't get removed with an AoE hit. Interesting, but I don't exactly know what the counter rate is of Jaeger, but it's not 100%. Because it's not 100%, it's actually going to be pretty shit and pretty RNG focused. So I'm not really going to like that much. So yeah, it might be something kind of a counter-ish unit here, but I would say that a Meo Wang is probably still stronger. So yeah, I don't know. Could be something more added to that skill. Um, then we have the next one, M Bison, which is Gurkha. The damage you receive from the provoked enemy will be decreased by 30%. Just give him 5% healing, bro. Like, give him 5% healing and call it a day. I don't know. Next up, we have the Stone Monkey from Jingzi, the Wind Monkey, and attacked under inability effects increase your attack bar by 20%. Interesting. His hard counter before was getting CC locked and therefore not being able to stun. But once again, I feel like they're really buffing the RNG units because this is one of those units, if it stuns all the time or if it counters all the time and then stuns all the time, it's very good. If it just stands there and it doesn't counter, and if it counters, it doesn't stun, it's very bad. Same thing with Jaeger over here. If it counters, it's very good. But we're looking at a lot of these things like, oh, we're just buffing RNG. Oh, we're just buffing more RNG. I'm not really sure if I'm liking those routes. Like, ComTwist has been taking these routes for quite a while. I would say in the updates they're doing with like the Fever event, very good update. With the events of the 30 or like the quality of life things with like 30 times farming, all of that stuff for like new players to catch up, very good. But balance patches is still just like, let's focus more RNG nonsense in there. I'm not sure if I'm liking that. Like that's, I gave that feedback a bunch of times already, but seems like they still like the RNG route on a lot of skills, it seems. Dark Monkey buff. Dark Monkey has been buffed for about 16 times right now. Is this the moment where it gets the Laura treatment and actually becomes good? Well, uh, No. The total damage, no change to the total damage. Okay. First hit decrease the defense break. Okay, and the second hit stuns for the same rate. That doesn't change anything. You don't change the damage. You don't change the rate. You just make it 2 hits. What the fuck is the point? You might as well not change it. You could say like, oh, you can put additional damage by speed. Why? Skill 1 is single target 1 hit. S2 is single target 1 hit. That doesn't make any sense. Like this whole change, literally you might as well not do it. So I'm really not sure what their issue is with Dark Monkey. And like they keep doing the weird changes and then like might as well not buff him if you barely change anything. Like this doesn't even literally doesn't even change anything. Then next up we have Siara. So Siara gets the attack bar on the target with the detonated bomb. Okay, now it absorbs. So rather than um, just removing the attack bar, it absorbs it from all enemies, regardless of them having a bomb or not. That makes Siara somewhat interesting, but also somewhat worse in my opinion, because now you have to focus high accuracy because you don't just care about accuracy S2, you care about accuracy S2 and S3. uh I'm not really sure if I'm liking it too much. Like it might be good for cycling. She can go for like potentially like an S3 can cycle into 80% attack bar and therefore you go S1, you proc S2, that kind of stuff. Might be nice, but once again I feel like it's kind of not that great. In all honesty, I just feel like it's not that great. Like what I would have rather seen happen on Sierra is just saying Sierra, um, we go for the S2 gets a 50% extra accuracy, or the S2 is guaranteed bomb and guaranteed stun if you explode it. Something like that, and then you don't have to focus any accuracy on Sierra and you can go pure stats on it. That's way rather something I would have liked to see on Sierra rather than this like absorbing and like it might be nice for cycling ish, but don't really think she gets that much meta play. But might be wrong on that. We'll see how that works. You definitely do need like everything stripped if this wants to be good, which kind of makes things weird as well. So then we have the Shadowcasters Fire, Water, and Dark. So Ren, Minato, and Ritsu. And you go under threat state while the enemy attacks with a single target hit one skill. So you get threat states all the time. Threat state on a unit like a Douglas, like a Jager in this case, but now also the Minato and the Ritsu. And I would say for Ritsu it might be pretty strong. For Minato I might see it being pretty strong. For Ren it doesn't really fit the kit as much, but it is still pretty strong, I would say. And it also gets that one on the third skill, it seems, because this is, I think, the second skill, so it also gets it on the third skill right now. Okay, I think we might see some more play of them. I'm not really sure if it's very strong, but we might see some more play. Then we have the Baal and Odin and what's the other one? Hertite. They will also gain one knowledge stack if you have 2 or less knowledge. So pretty much the same thing that the Belial, no wait, not Belial, the other thing, Bolfric and Geldnir were already doing. You also get that for the other ones right now. So that's could be interesting. Is that something that would maybe change something for R5? I don't really think so because you need max stacks anyway. Same for Odin. So not really sure if that changes anything for fire and wind all too much. For dark, it might like help in bruiser fights and such. The druid gets decrease in cooltime. I have no clue why, but sure thing. When attacking the enemy while the passive effect is stacked up to max, decrease defense for 1 turn. Big question on that one would be, well, max stacking will take you quite a while. Would this become a siege defense unit? What was meta in Korea before, like way before, like Kakano or Ryan, like Taranis or something weird? Would you see it in siege meta and defense again? I'm not too sure. I think it's very nukeable still, but decreased defense might have something. But it's for 1 turn, so that's also the question. Like, does the defense decreased defense apply before or after the damage? What if you do it on S1? It's barely any damage, so might be interesting, might not be the end interesting. Next off, we have a start of attacking, which is third skill from Barbara. Damage increased by 33%, which is technically pretty nice because the more damage you do on this, the more attack bar gain you get normally. So increases the attack bar gain of all allies in proportionate to the enemy lost HP. No changes to the maximum amount increase. So I would say that getting the thresholds of getting attack bar push is seemingly easier. So yeah, might definitely be nice, but let's see how that is. Then we have the Fire Demon. I used to use it before. It's a pretty interesting unit. It has the no glancing or guaranteed crit or something like that on the third skill. And also like the anti-cleanse, I think. Erase the conditions for granting proportional to the damage. Wait. Erase the conditions for granting continuous damage proportional to the damage dealt. So you just always give the continuous damage. That's barely a buff. Like this thing is actually made to one-shot more or less. So wouldn't necessarily consider that a buff. Like this thing was supposed to do full-on damage anyways and get all the debuffs that way. So don't really think that changes anything. Then we have the Hollyberry Cookie on fire. Have your defense increased for 30 until okay. Increase defense on all allies for 1 turn when using the skill. It might be something. 1 turn is mostly not that interesting, but if it moves after all of the other units, might be interesting, I guess. Then we have the Fire Ezio, which is, I guess, never used. Ignore enemy defense for another 20, but now 30% when attacking without beneficial effects. Okay, I'm still not really sure where you want to place that. Maybe they are kind of trying to force that into Steel Fortress because Steel Fortress has like the defense buff and that kind of stuff in PvE, but not really seeing too much uses of it. Then we have the Wind Ezio, which I used before in PvE stuff, but now it's kind of weird. So you decrease the cooldown for all allies for 1 turn if the enemy dies. Yeah, decrease the cooldown of all allies without conditions. So you just get the cooldown increase always. I'm not really sure if that's any great or you start placing it into some PvP kind of stuff right now, but uh not really sure what's the idea behind this in all honesty. Like I don't really think it's going to be useful anymore that much. Might be wrong, but I don't know. So in this case, we also have the Wind Striker, which also has been like having 6 buffs already, I guess. Remove all beneficial effects granted and decrease defense for 2 turns. No changes are made to the second and the third hit. Wait, I'm not really sure like what this skill is. Like, would be nice if you put all together what this skill does right now, because in all honesty, I don't know. I thought the first hit was like strip, second hit defense break, and the third hit something else or something. But now everything happens on the first hit, I guess. I could be wrong on that skill completely, but I have no clue. But would this be useful? It's still like the deafness kind of vibe. Like, ooh, if you miss the strip, you're fucked. If you miss the death break, you're fucked. So maybe it's now death break and death break, so you have 2 chances to death break. I'm not really sure, but I don't know. Then we have the Sigmarus and then damage increase by 16%. That's a good amount of damage increase. I actually use Sigmarus on my alt for dragons and giants. I felt somewhat lackluster on the damage. I felt that a Varamos was almost doing more damage on the skill 2, so some more damage on that skill 3 might actually be pretty beneficial. Still, is it that great? I'm not really sure. Well, more damage PV, why not? It's like 3 damage extra in PV is never wrong, right? So then we have the Devil Maidens with the Fire, Wind, and Light. And instead of decreasing attack power, it gives a slow right now, which definitely is a stronger debuff in most cases. A little bit more rare for debuff, but let's see. We also have the Bind. It removes some beneficial effect right now. So you can actually do the Seal Trap, but then also first Strip and then Seal Trap, which definitely is very nice. Like, let's say you strip 3 units, but you don't strip the 4th unit, and then you can still use that seal on that 4th unit. You do have a double resistance check then, but I kind of like the idea behind it. The fire one now is 3 times inflict continuous damage. Okay. Before it was the HP recovery. Wait. What is the difference? Okay, you just decrease the attack bar like no matter what. Okay, fair enough, I guess. could be a something. I don't know. Is that that's just a change? But does that make it any stronger? No, I don't think so. Potential makes it weaker. Or I'm just reading it wrong. Not entirely sure. We have the wind one, and it's silenced for 30%. Ugh, 30%. Yay, more RNG. Maybe it goes up a few percentage by the skill ups, but it's like the yeah, it's with no harmful effects. So it's kind of a different version of Nefties, but then saying no harmful effects rather than having harmful effects. Feels pretty weak. Feels pretty weak. I'm not sure. Then we have the Fire Sylph with the third skill, and they do some. Oh yeah, okay. They one lances glancing it, okay, and they always make it 3 hits. Yep. And then it's changed for like the awakening, so the awakening goes to another skill, which is mentioned later or something. So they kind of make the skill the same, but they also put like the no glancing, so it becomes more of a TOA hell and TOA hard unit, I guess. We have the Brownie Magician. And Brownie Magician is inflict damage proportional to HP, inflict damage proportional to your attack. Makes a lot more sense, I guess. And then harmful effects, or remove harmful effects and beneficial effects on the enemy to an 80%. So I guess with skill ups that becomes 100. So it becomes usable instead of unusable. I guess. The water one, if the number is the same as the previous number, the attack is guaranteed to land as a crit. Absolutely ridiculously useless. Because this unit is supposed to ignore damage with like some bad odds, and you want crit rate on that. You're not gonna low crit rate this and then pray even more that you actually get a proper thing. Very useless one, I would say. We got a fire dice, and if the number is greater, larger, okay, so we just have those numbers pretty much going up. So Ludo might be a little bit stronger if he rolls high, and he might take a little bit less damage. Okay. Wait, decreases the damage of all allies up to 15%. Okay, well, up to 15 is not that much, though. Damage increase is pretty nice, but the damage decrease for all allies up to 15, that means if you roll very high, it's maybe like 1% or 0%. I'm not sure. It might be a something for siege defense. We actually tried this one in siege defense before, but okay, I guess. The attack bar of the number referred is inverse proportional to the sum of the number of the super RNG once again, because this skill you need to have the double numbers to actually revive whole team. Super RNG as well. So we have the Water Lich that goes for like 30% and 25%. Okay, just well, I would say that the Water Lich was somewhat of an issue to actually get like the attack bar in. It on paper it felt like pretty doable, but in the match it felt not that doable. So having a slight buff on that definitely helps. We have the Wind Lich, which is pretty interesting. I think it might ruin my current R5 team, which I didn't make the video of yet. But if the shield is destroyed, it counterattacks with Deadly Touch. I would have to check if Deadly Touch is skill 1 or skill 2. I think it is skill 1. If so, it's pretty shit. Because then I can't use it in my R5 anymore. So it's just buffed to get ruined in R5. And then the buff itself doesn't do anything. If it's skill 2, then you could maybe use it. Wait, where's my phone? Do I have... this phone is still playing the game. Let me check, because I'm actually curious. Because this might completely ruin my team. Or actually make my team a little bit better. Which of the skills is it? Deadly Touch is actually skill 2. Skill 2 has the defense break. It hits 3 times and then okay, that's not too bad. You could make it in R5 as a consistent armor breaker maybe, because wait, let me actually check for the skill ups. How much do you go in skill ups? Because it says 35% on the base, but on skill ups it actually doesn't increase anything. So it's 3 times 35. That's not consistent enough, I would say. Yeah, that's... I don't really like 3 times 35. Like if it went up to like 50, 3 times 50, perfect number, but 3 times 35, that's still like, with the resistance check and everything in there, it's probably not gonna land. So not really the most consistent thing out there. So it's probably ruining more things than making anything better. Yeah, not sure. So then we have this one, which is increase your attack power by 100%. So it's way easier to stack him. So probably once again, defense unit might be a bit better. We have the light and the fire jack-o'-lantern with ghost appearance. Let me actually check that skill as well. I think it's a skill that does something like a dot or an armor break, or I don't even know exactly sure. The skill 2 actually already has like 50%, so it will go to 75 with skill ups, or 70 actually. Each head has a chance of 30, random debuff, defense, weaken attack power, disturb recovery, and then damage according to speed. Okay, interesting. So a little bit more effects on that, and especially with the Jack-o'-lantern light, which kind of becomes like the light Ivor, is that whenever an enemy turn ends, your attack power goes into attack speed rather than that. So the attack speed is going up for 15 to 150, and it used to be attack power. So speed is very interesting because S1 does damage by speed, S2 does damage by speed, you increase your speed a lot, you can't get stunned, and yeah, you also take less damage. Wow, that's actually pretty interesting because it also, like the S2 is an AoE hit, so you get AoE armor break potential with a lot of damage, so that's probably siege defense unit, maybe even siege offense unit. I would say that that is probably one of the better buffs out there. We have Jojo, the Fire Joker, giving the chance of removing all beneficial effects. It's not too bad in siege offense, I would say, mainly because you can say like, okay, I'm not gonna put any stripper and I just throw 2 bombers and like a support in there. If they don't have will runes, I go for bomb. If they do have will runes, I go for strip. Well, I can see the usage of that, even though that Jojo is like a defense type unit and therefore his bombs don't do jack shite, but can kind of see it being working. We have the Dark one that has increased damage on the passive with the Revenges. Don't really see the point of that all too much. Then we have Phil for Chloe, Rena, and Iona. So in this case, we have remove 1 harmful effects from all allies, excluding yourself, and recover the HP of all allies, including yourself, by 20% each. So recovery is, I would say, better. Yeah, you remove the 25%, but now it's like the 20 over here. And you remove 1 harmful effect from all allies, excluding yourself. So I would definitely say that that is a bit of a stronger one, so that's definitely nice. And then, wow, Iona, decrease for 7 turns to 5. That's a really big downgrade, or like, that's a really big, like, decrease in number, which is, of course, a big buff. And then also recovers and increase the defense by 3 turns. Okay, when used on. Wait. When used. Okay, so you have the 2 turns if. Okay. So you can choose to recover and then give defense buff, and then it's 5 turns. But you can also use it on a dead ally, and then it's like the same as the old one. So it kind of goes for the badass style of FDS2. Slight of a buff, but yeah, I think it's nice. And then we have the Martial Cat. We have more Miho, more RNG. Woohoo! Yeah, I would say Mio is low-key a pretty good unit in Siege still there, or not in Siege. Well, Siege maybe also. Well, Siege you don't really know what the enemy uses. But there's some RTA teams where you just guaranteed know like the whole team is 100 crit rate. Miho in that occasion is pretty strong. So getting more attack bar mainly is pretty strong on that one. So yep. Then we have one that's probably one of the better hitters of the whole balance patch, and that is the Adriana, which is the water pure vanilla cookie, getting attack speed. So that's the unit that has Oblivion on the S2, pretty low cooldown on that one, and then the S3 is immunity, attack buff, and speed buff. That is definitely interesting to give a 15% speed to, because if you put it swift, you can make it very fast and then just start lapping by the speed buff. Or if you make it fire, you can use it for putting Oblivion more often and that kind of stuff. So definitely an interesting one right there. And then we have Strengthen of the Phoenix. That makes it damage against, or that's one strengthened of Turbulence. And then Turbulence is additional damage to enemy max HP. The scaling on this thing is very weak, so depending on how much scaling they put on that S2, it might be very strong. But that might be for TOA Hell mainly, that you have a unit that can kind of fast clear the waves because of dots, but then also still like hard hit the boss, which is pretty unique. We don't have any of those actually. Like it's mainly like you put a Spectra for the boss and then you put like a Rika for the waves, but now it's kind of in one. At least that's where I think it is. And you have a bunch of like AI improvements. I don't really think this does all too much. At least it doesn't say it all too well, like where, when, or how. But I guess. Oh, those are the. Yeah. That's the one that wants to do the second skill first and then the first skill, because otherwise it's just single target auto hitting. Whoops. Smashing my desk here. Yeah, it actually does make sense because otherwise, like if it does the second skill and then the first skill, it has like the AoE one, and if it does first skill first, it's just single target as one. So that is definitely useful that that is in there, and then a whole bunch of fixes. I think those are all fine, like whatever it is. But yeah, for me, let me know in the comments what you guys think about this balance patch. For me, I'm missing a few things. Like for example, I would say lower ranks in RTA really struggle with Miles. Miles can definitely be down tuned for that. I would also especially say Laura. Laura has like a 57% win rate right now, even after the last nerf. Just tune down like the damage scaling or like HP defense or one of those buffs that she's getting and that kind of stuff. She just does an insane amount of damage. So there's definitely a bunch of units out there that I would say could get a slight tweak or slash nerf. Um, yeah, also like they missed the chance on like just buffing some LD5s that could be actually good, I guess. Because they have Jaeger buff, but I still don't think it's good. They have the Girka buff, I still don't think it's good. They have the Dark Monkey buff, I still think that doesn't even change anything. It's literally just still bad. We have the Herdtide buff that also doesn't really do anything. Ritsu might be a something. So yeah, I feel like that this is a balance patch that doesn't change any really siege meta, that doesn't really change any RTA meta that much. Um, siege maybe-ish, but RTA pretty sure not really. So I would say it's a pretty lackluster balance patch in general. Like, let me know what you guys think. Like, this is a balance patch that I would somewhat expect, like, if you want to do a balance patch like a month before SWC finals, you probably post this balance patch and everyone's like, doesn't change too much, but fair, we expected this. But now you have the right moment to change a lot of stuff. There's no SWC coming in like pretty much 8-9 months. There is no Siege tournament for the next 3 months. There's Legend tournament coming in like what 2.5 weeks, but we don't care that much about those. Those are there anyways all the time anyway. But yeah, then this balance patch just doesn't really feel like much. Also, PvE, nothing really changed. I feel like for all quadrants of the game, we really expected like, okay, Kantos is shaking things up with all of the quality of life things it's doing right now, which we all love and we really appreciate. But then the balancing team was like, nah, we're not gonna do that much. That's kind of how I feel. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments. This was my review on the balance patch. And as always, see you in the next one. And yes, for sure, my next video is going to be back in the Netherlands.